They say some curses are written in blood, others are carved into bone. But Liam's curse? His was etched into the very fabric of his soul, the night the crimson moon rose over Ashwood Forest, the night everything changed forever. This is a story of love and monsters, of the thin line between protection and possession, of a boy who became a beast and the girl who refused to let him go. This is Bound by the Crimson Moon. Before I continue, if you enjoy such stories, please like, subscribe, and look out for our other supernatural romance audiobooks. Liam Crawford had always believed in logic, in science, in the rational explanations that kept the world spinning predictably on its axis. Werewolves belonged in campfire stories, in dusty folklore books his grandmother kept on the top shelf of her library. They didn't belong in the real world. They certainly didn't belong beneath his skin. But that was before the Crimson Moon, before the hunting trip with his father that should have been a simple father-son bonding experience in the woods they'd explored 100 times before the creature that moved too fast to be natural, with eyes that burned like dying stars, emerged from the darkness between the trees. His father's last words still echoed in the hollow spaces of Liam's mind. Run, don't look back, just run. But Liam hadn't run fast enough. The bite came swift and burning, teeth sinking into his shoulder with a pain that felt like liquid fire pouring through his veins. He remembered screaming, remembered his father's anguished cry, remembered the copper taste of blood in his mouth, and the way the world tilted sideways before everything went black. When Liam woke 3 days later in his childhood bedroom, his father was gone. Buried, they told him. An animal attack, they said. The same animal that had marked Liam, though somehow he'd survived, if you could call what he'd become survival. The first transformation happened exactly 1 month later. Liam had felt it building all day, a restlessness in his bones, a fever burning beneath his skin that no medicine could touch. His senses had sharpened to an unbearable degree. He could hear conversations happening 3 houses down, could smell the fear sweat of the neighbor's cat hiding under a porch, could feel the vibrations of footsteps through the floorboards like earthquakes. And then there was Aria. Aria Winters had lived next door since they were both 6 years old. She was the girl who'd shared her lunch with him in 2nd grade when he'd forgotten his, the girl who'd taught him how to climb the old oak tree that straddled their property line, the girl who'd sat with him in silence after his mother's funeral, just holding his hand while the world crumbled around them. The girl he'd loved for as long as he could remember what love was. That first full moon, when the change began to claw its way through him, Aria was the one knocking on his door. He could hear her heartbeat from his locked bedroom, steady, strong, utterly trusting, could smell the vanilla of her shampoo, the lavender lotion she always wore, could feel the pull of something ancient and terrible stirring inside him, drawn to her like a compass pointing north. "Liam?" Her voice drifted through the door, concerned. "You missed dinner at my house. Mom made your favorite. Are you okay?" He'd pressed his back against the far wall, feeling his bones begin to crack and snap, his nail bones lengthening into claws. The wolf inside him had lifted its head, attention focused entirely on that voice, on that heartbeat, on her. "Mine," something whispered in his mind. "Mine, mine." "Go away, Aria." His voice came out strangled, barely human. "Please, just go." "You've been avoiding me for weeks, ever since—" She paused. She could hear her hand resting flat against the door, could almost feel the warmth of it. "Ever since your dad. Liam, I'm worried about you. Let me in. Let me help." "Let her in," the beast growled. "Take her. Keep her. She belongs to us." "No!" The word erupted from him as his spine began to curve, his jaw cracking and reforming. "Stay away from me! I don't want you here!" The lie tasted like ash, but it was necessary, because if she came through that door, if she saw what he was becoming, if the wolf caught her scent when it was fully emerged, he didn't know what would happen, and that terrified him more than the transformation itself. He'd heard her sharp intake of breath, the hurt in it cut deeper than any claw. Then finally, her steps retreating down the hallway, down the stairs, out his front door. Even through his agony, through the wolf tearing its way to the surface, Liam had felt the loss of her presence like a physical wound. That was 3 months ago, and in the time since, the pattern had only grown worse. Autumn had painted Ashwood in shades of amber and crimson, and Aria couldn't help but think how the colors matched the sadness that had settled into her chest like a stone. Liam was avoiding her, not subtly either. When she approached him at school, he'd turn and walk the other way. When she called, he wouldn't answer. When she knocked on his door, he'd make excuses through the wood without ever opening it. The boy who'd once spent every spare moment with her, who'd shared every secret and dream, had become a stranger practically overnight, and it was killing her. She'd tried to give him space. Grief did strange things to people, and she knew Liam's relationship with his father had been complicated even before the tragedy. Maybe he just needed time to process, to heal. But 3 months of silence? 3 months of cold shoulders and avoided glances.
That wasn't grief. That was something else entirely. Aria found herself standing at the edge of Ashwood Forest as the sun began to set, the same forest where Liam's father had died. The police had called it an animal attack, probably a bear, though no one could find the creature responsible. But Liam had been there. Liam had seen what happened. And Liam had been different ever since. Not just distant, changed. There was something wild in his eyes now, something that made him look like a cornered animal whenever she got too close. He'd lost weight despite eating more than she'd ever seen him consume. His reflexes had become unnaturally quick. Last week she'd seen him catch a falling book without even looking, his hand snapping out with impossible precision. And then there were the nights of the full moon. Aria wasn't stupid. She'd noticed the pattern. Liam would disappear completely on those nights, and the next day he'd return looking exhausted and haunted, with scratches and bruises he couldn't explain. The first time she'd assumed he was getting into fights, but the wounds were too strange, too much like he'd been running through brambles and thorns, or like something with claws had gotten hold of him. "You're thinking too much again." The voice made Aria jump. She turned to find Mrs. Crawford, Liam's grandmother, standing a few feet away, bundled in a thick cardigan despite the mild temperature. The old woman's eyes, so like Liam's, were sharp and knowing. "Mrs. Crawford, I didn't hear you." "Few people do." The woman moved to stand beside her, both of them facing the darkening forest. "You're worried about my grandson." It wasn't a question, so Aria didn't pretend otherwise. "He won't talk to me, won't even look at me. I don't understand what I did wrong." "You did nothing wrong, child." Mrs. Crawford's voice was soft but firm. "Sometimes the people we love push us away, not because we've failed them, but because they're trying to protect us from something we don't understand." Aria turned to face her. "Protect me from what?" The old woman's expression grew distant, sad. "From the same thing that took my son, the same curse that runs in the Crawford blood, passed down through generations of men who thought they could control it." She reached into her cardigan pocket and pulled out an old iron key. "My son kept journals, records of what he was, what he struggled with. I think it's time someone else knew the truth, time someone else understood what Liam is fighting. I don't understand. Come to the house tomorrow when Liam is at school. I'll show you what you need to see." Mrs. Crawford pressed the key into Aria's palm, her fingers cold and papery. "But be warned, dear girl, Some truths once known cannot be unknown. Some doors once opened cannot be closed. Are you certain you want to walk through this one?" Aria closed her fingers around the key, feeling its weight. She thought of Liam's smile, the one she hadn't seen in months, thought of the boy who'd taught her to skip stones across the creek, who'd stayed up all night helping her study for finals, who'd looked at her sometimes like she was the only star in his sky. "I'm certain," she whispered. "I need to understand. I need to help him." Mrs. Crawford nodded slowly. "Then come tomorrow. But Aria, whatever you discover, remember this. My grandson is still the boy you grew up with. The curse may have changed his body, but his heart, that's still entirely his own, and it still belongs to you whether he admits it or not." The old woman turned and walked away, leaving Aria standing at the forest's edge with a key that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Behind her, hidden in the shadows of the trees, Liam watched with glowing amber eyes as the two most important people in his life spoke about him. He'd followed Aria here, unable to help himself, drawn by that same terrible pull that grew stronger every day. The wolf inside him paced restlessly, wanting to close the distance, wanting to go to her, to protect her, to claim her as its own. The human part of him knew he should leave, should put more distance between them, should find some way to sever this connection before it destroyed them both. But he couldn't move, could only stand there in the gathering darkness, torn between the man he'd been and the monster he was becoming, while the girl he loved more than his own life held a key to secrets that might make her hate him forever. The moon was growing fuller. He could feel it in his bones, in his blood, in the restless hunger of the beast. Time was running out. The Crawford house felt different without Liam in it. Aria had been inside hundreds of times over the years, but today, with Mrs. Crawford leading her up the narrow stairs to the attic study, every shadow seemed deeper, every creak of the old wood more ominous. "My son started keeping journals when he was 16, the same age Liam is now, the same age the curse first manifested in him, just as it has in every Crawford man for the past 300 years. The study was cramped and dusty, filled with books and papers, newspaper clippings and old photographs. But what dominated the room was a large desk covered in leather-bound journals, some new, some so old that the leather had cracked and faded to almost nothing. Mrs. Crawford gestured to the most recent journal, the one with Liam's father's name embossed on the cover. "Start with this one. It will explain what the police report never could, what Liam has been too afraid to tell you himself." With trembling hands, Aria opened the journal. The first entry was dated 5 years ago, written in a steady, masculine hand. "The curse skipped me. For 40 years I believed I'd been spared the family burden, that perhaps the bloodline had finally been cleansed. I was a fool. It wasn't waiting for me, it was waiting for my son." Aria's breath caught. She flipped forward, scanning entries that spoke of research, of desperate attempts to find a cure, of mounting fear as Liam approached his 16th birthday. Then she found the entry from 3 months ago, the night of the hunting trip. "I thought if I could face it, if I could confront the creature that carries our curse and passes it to each new generation, I might be able to spare Liam. I was wrong. The beast found us in the forest. I tried to fight it, but these things, they're faster than myth gives them credit for, stronger, more cunning. It went for Liam, my boy, my brilliant, kind, beautiful boy. I threw myself between them, but not fast enough. The creature's teeth found his shoulder before I could pull him away. I saw the moment the curse transferred, saw Liam's eyes flash gold in the moonlight, saw the mark settle into his skin like a brand. I drove the creature off with silver. Thank God I'd brought my grandmother's knife, but the damage was done. Liam is infected now. The change will come with the next full moon. And I am wounded badly. The scratches burn like poison. I don't think I'll last the night. If anyone reads this, know that I failed failed to protect my son from the family curse, failed to break the cycle. But maybe there's still hope. The old texts speak of a soul mark, a person tied to the wolf's heart, someone who can anchor the humanity when the beast rises. For some, it's a curse worse than the transformation itself, because the wolf's obsession with its soul mark can be deadly. I pray Liam doesn't have one. I pray he can learn to control this alone, because if he has a soul mark, if there's someone the wolf fixates on, God help them both.
The journal entry ended there, the final words shaky and smeared, as if written by dying hands. Aria sat back, her mind reeling. Werewolves. The word felt absurd even thinking it, like something from a fantasy novel. But the journal entries weren't fiction. They were desperate, real, written by a man who'd spent his life studying his family's curse. "Keep reading," Mrs. Crawford said quietly from where she stood by the window. "There's more." Aria picked up an older journal, this one from Liam's great-grandfather. The entries spoke of transformation and control, of the terrible hunger that came with the full moon, of the constant battle between man and beast. But it was a passage near the end that made Aria's blood run cold. "The soul mark is both blessing and curse. Mine was a woman named Eleanor. From the moment I first transformed, the wolf knew her, wanted her, not to harm, never to harm, but to possess, to protect, to keep. The human part of me loved her gently. The wolf loved her with a violence that terrified us both. On the night I almost lost control, almost let the beast have free rein, Eleanor spoke my name. Just my name, over and over, like an anchor pulling me back from the abyss. The wolf could have killed her with one strike. Instead, it laid its head at her feet and whimpered like a lost pup. That's when I understood. The wolf doesn't want to destroy its soul mark. It wants to worship them, protect them, die for them if necessary. But the intensity of that devotion, the obsession, can be its own kind of danger. Because a werewolf will destroy anything else that threatens its marked one, will cross any line, break any law, kill anyone who stands between them and their chosen person. Eleanor chose to stay with me, to help me manage the curse, and for 40 years her presence has been the only thing that keeps me human when the moon rises. But I would not wish this burden on anyone. To love a monster is to carry a weight that never truly lightens. Aria's hands were shaking now. She thought of Liam's strange behavior, his desperate attempts to push her away, the way he looked at her sometimes, like she was everything he wanted and everything he feared. "It's me, isn't it?" Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "I'm his soul mark." Mrs. Crawford turned from the window, her weathered face full of sorrow and understanding. "From the moment he first transformed, you were all he could think about. He came to me that next morning, terrified, said he could hear your heartbeat from 2 houses away, could feel when you were near like a compass pointing home, said the wolf inside him was fixated on you, obsessed with you, and he didn't know if it wanted to protect you or hurt me, or love you in a way that consumes everything else." The old woman moved closer, placing a gentle hand on Aria's shoulder. "Liam is pushing you away because he's afraid of what he might do, afraid the wolf's devotion might put you in danger, afraid that loving you might be the thing that finally makes him lose control." Aria stood abruptly, the journal falling from her lap. "I need to see him. I need to talk to him. The full moon is tonight, isn't it? I can feel it somehow. Aria, wait." Mrs. Crawford's grip tightened. "If you confront him now, if you push him when he's already struggling to maintain control, the wolf might not let you leave, might not be able to let you leave. Are you prepared for that? Are you prepared to face a creature that looks at you like you're the only thing that matters?"
Aria thought of all the years with Liam, all the shared secrets and quiet moments, the way he'd always looked at her, even before the curse, like she was extraordinary, the way he'd protected her from bullies in middle school, had cheered the loudest at her dance recitals, had shown up at her door with soup when she was sick. He'd always loved her. The curse had just amplified what was already there, twisted it into something he couldn't control, couldn't understand. He's not a monster, he's Liam, and I'm not going to let him face this alone, not anymore. She was out the door before Mrs. Crawford could protest, the old woman's worried voice calling after her, "Then God be with you both, child, because you're going to need all the help you can get." Liam felt the change coming like a storm building on the horizon. His skin was too tight, his bones aching with the promise of transformation. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of blood and fire, and he'd locked himself in the old hunting cabin at the edge of his family's property, the same place he'd been coming every full moon since this nightmare began. Iron chains hung from the walls, thick enough to hold a bear. They'd held him before, barely. He'd just finished securing the first shackle around his wrist when he heard it, a heartbeat approaching through the forest. Her heartbeat, the one he'd memorized so completely he could have picked it out of a crowd of thousands. "No," he breathed. "Aria, no, please, no." But she was coming. He could smell her now, too, that vanilla and lavender combination that drove the wolf inside him into a frenzy. "Mine," the wolf snarled. "She's coming to us. Finally. Mine." "She's not yours," Liam shouted at the empty room, at the beast inside him. "She's not ours to keep." His reflection in the dusty window showed eyes that flickered between human brown and wolf gold. His hands were trembling as he tried to secure the second shackle, but his fingers wouldn't cooperate. The change was coming too fast, accelerated by her proximity. Then her voice, clear as a bell. "Liam, I know you're in there. I know what you are." He froze. She knew. Somehow she'd learned the truth, and she was still here, still coming closer. "Go away," his voice cracked, breaking on the words. "Aria, please, you have to leave. You have to."
The cabin door burst open, and there she stood, backlit by the dying sun, her dark hair loose around her shoulders, her eyes fierce and unafraid despite the tears streaming down her face. "I'm not leaving you," she said. "Not tonight, not ever. I know what you are, Liam. I know about the curse, about the soul mark, about what your father wrote in his journals." "Then you know you have to go." The word came out as a growl as his spine began to curve. "The wolf, it wants you, Aria. It's obsessed with you. And when the transformation is complete, I don't know if I'll be strong enough to keep it from what? Hurting me?" She stepped into the cabin, closing the door behind her. "The journal said the wolf doesn't want to hurt its soul mark. It wants to protect them." "You don't understand." Liam backed against the wall, bones cracking audibly now. "The obsession, it's not safe, it's not normal, it's love." Aria's voice was steady, certain, amplified by the curse, yes, made more intense, more desperate, but at its core, it's just love. The same love you've always had for me, Liam. I see that now. I understand. "You can't possibly understand what this feels like." His hands were changing, fingers elongating, nails becoming claws. "Every cell in my body is screaming at me to keep you here, to never let you leave, to what?" She took another step closer. "To hold me? To protect me? To be near me?" Another step. "Those aren't monstrous urges, Liam. Those are human ones." "Stop!" The command came out as both a plea and command. "The moon, it's—" Through the cabin's small window, the first rays of moonlight spilled across the floor, and Liam's control shattered. The transformation was violent and agonizing. Bones broke and reformed, muscles tearing and rebuilding, skin giving way to thick black fur. Aria watched, refusing to look away even as tears streamed down her face, as the boy she loved contorted and changed into something else entirely, something massive and powerful and undeniably other. The creature that had been Liam stood on 2 legs, towering over her, its body a horrific fusion of man and wolf. Its eyes, those were still Liam's eyes, she noted with a shaking breath. Still that same warm brown, even if they glowed now with an amber light. The wolf looked at her, just looked, and in that gaze Aria saw 1,000 emotions, hunger and fear, desperation and devotion, the terrible weight of a love that had no words, only instinct. "Liam," she whispered, "I know you're still in there. I know you can hear me." The wolf's massive head tilted, a very human gesture of confusion. It took a step toward her, then stopped, clearly fighting itself. Its clawed hands clenched and unclenched, as if trying to decide whether to reach for her or stay away. "It's okay," Aria said, though her voice trembled. "I'm not afraid of you. I could never be afraid of you." That was a lie. She was terrified, but she was also certain that this was still Liam, that the boy she loved was still present in this monstrous form, and that he needed her to be brave even when her legs wanted to give out from under her. The wolf made a sound, something between a whine and a growl. It took another step forward, and that's when the window exploded inward. 3 figures burst through the shattered window, moving with practiced precision. They wore dark clothing and carried weapons that gleamed silver in the moonlight. Hunters, werewolf hunters. "Don't move, girl," one of them shouted, a grizzled man with scars crossing his face. "That thing is dangerous. Get away from it before—" But Aria didn't move. Instead, she stepped deliberately between Liam and the hunters, her arms spread wide. "No, you don't understand. He won't hurt me." "They never do," a woman hunter said grimly, raising a crossbow loaded with what had to be silver bolts. "Not until it's too late. That creature has killed before. We've been tracking it for months." "That's a lie." Aria's voice was fierce. "Liam hasn't killed anyone." "Liam?" The scarred hunter's eyes narrowed. "So you know this monster's name. You have any idea how many people have died because they thought they knew a werewolf, thought they could trust it? Step aside, girl. This ends tonight." Behind Aria, the wolf growled, a sound that rumbled through the cabin like thunder. She could feel its presence at her back, massive and protective, radiating a barely contained violence. But it wasn't moving toward the hunters. It was staying behind her, as if her body was a barrier it refused to cross. "I won't let you hurt him," Aria said, her voice shaking but determined. "Then you'll die with it." The woman's finger moved to the crossbow trigger. Everything happened at once. The wolf lunged, not at the hunters, but at Aria, powerful arms wrapping around her and pulling her down as the silver bolt whistled over their heads. The scarred hunter charged with a silver blade. The third hunter circled toward the side, trying to flank them, and Aria, pressed against the wolf's furred chest, could feel its thundering heartbeat, could hear the very human sound of panic in its breathing. "He's protecting me," she realized. "Even now, transformed and facing weapons that could kill him, he's trying to keep me safe." "Liam!" She screamed his name loud enough to cut through the chaos. "Liam, listen to me!" The wolf froze, its attention snapping to her even as the hunters closed in. "You're not a monster," Aria said urgently, pressing her hands against the wolf's furred chest. "You've never been a monster. You're Liam Crawford. You're the boy who taught me to climb trees, who stayed up with me when I was scared of thunderstorms, who held my hand at your mother's funeral, who has loved me since we were children, even if you were too scared to say it." The wolf's eyes, Liam's eyes, were fixed on her face. "You think the beast makes you dangerous, but it doesn't. You know what makes you dangerous, Liam? The fact that you've been facing this alone, trying to fight it by yourself, pushing away the only person who could help you, who could anchor you, because you were too afraid of what the wolf might do." The transformation was beginning to reverse. She could feel it, the fur receding, the bones shifting back. The hunters sensed it too and surged forward, but the scarred hunter held up a hand, stopping them. "Your father's journal said the soul mark can call the wolf back to humanity. That's what I'm doing right now, Liam. I'm calling you back to humanity. I'm telling you it's okay to come home, to come back to yourself, to come back to me." Liam. The word was barely human, forced through a throat not quite shaped for speech, but it was unmistakably Liam's voice. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere. Not now, not ever." The wolf collapsed, the transformation reversing rapidly now. Within moments, Liam lay trembling on the floor in his human form, gasping for breath, Aria's arms wrapped around him. The hunters stood frozen, weapons still raised, but uncertainty clear on their faces. "I didn't kill anyone," Liam managed, his voice raw. "Every full moon I locked myself away, chained myself up. I'd never... The scarred hunter lowered his blade slowly. "We tracked a werewolf to Ashwood, found evidence of attacks on livestock, signs of a creature stalking the woods. If it wasn't you—" "The creature that bit me," Liam said, lifting his head. His eyes were fully human now, brown and exhausted. "It's still out there, the one that killed my father. It's been hunting in these woods for months, and you've been chasing the wrong wolf." The hunters exchanged glances. The woman with the crossbow spoke first. "If that's true, if there's another werewolf here—" A howl split the night, not from Liam, but from somewhere deep in the forest. It was answered by another, then another, a pack calling to each other under the full moon. "Oh, God," Liam breathed. "They're coming here. They can smell—" He looked at Aria, horror dawning in his eyes. "They can smell my soul mark. They know what you are to me. It's a challenge. They'll try to take you to force me to join them, or to prove you're weak," the scarred hunter finished grimly. "A lone wolf is a threat to pack hierarchy. They'll want to eliminate that threat." More howls, closer now. The hunters moved to defensive positions, the scarred man taking point by the shattered window. "How many are we talking about?" "At least 4, Liam said, struggling to his feet with Aria's help. "Maybe more. I've sensed them in the woods, felt them watching. I thought if I kept my distance, kept to myself, they'd leave me alone." "That's not how pack politics work, boy." The woman reloaded her crossbow with practiced efficiency. "They see you as either a future pack member or a rival, and with a soul mark, that makes you extremely valuable. They'll want to control you, use your connection to her to keep you in line." "Over my dead body," Liam growled, and for a moment his eyes flashed gold again. Aria felt a strange calm settle over her despite the chaos. This was the moment where they stood together or fell apart, where love proved stronger than fear, or where fear won and destroyed them both. She took Liam's hand, lacing her fingers through his. "Then we fight," she said simply, "together." Liam looked at her, and in his eyes she saw wonder and terror, and a love so deep it could drown the world. "Aria, you can't." "Yes, I can. I absolutely can." She squeezed his hand. "You're not alone anymore, Liam. You hear me? Whatever comes through that door, whatever happens next, you're not facing it alone." The first werewolf hit the cabin door with enough force to crack the wood. The hunters opened fire, silver bolts and bullets finding their marks, but the creatures kept coming. 2, 3, 4 of them, massive shapes of fur and muscle and savage hunger. And in the center of the cabin, Aria held Liam's hand and felt a tremor that ran through him as he fought against transforming, fought to maintain control, even as every instinct screamed at him to let the wolf out, to protect her with fang and claw. "It's okay," she whispered. "Let it out, Liam. Let the wolf come. I trust you. I trust both of you." His eyes met hers. "You're sure?" "I'm never been more sure of anything." Liam closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let go. The transformation this time was different, faster, more controlled, as if Liam wasn't fighting it anymore, but accepting it, working with the curse instead of against it. The wolf that emerged was still massive, still powerful, but there was a clarity in its eyes now, a focus that hadn't been there before. It looked at Aria once, a look filled with profound trust and gratitude, before turning to face the attacking werewolves with a snarl that shook the cabin walls. What happened next was chaos. The hunters fought with precision, their silver weapons finding marks, but they were outnumbered. The pack wolves were organized, coordinated, circling to flank and separate their targets. The scarred hunter went down with a roar, claws raking across his shoulder. The woman's crossbow was knocked from her hands. And then Liam was there, a black blur of fur and fury, putting himself between the pack and the hunters, between the pack and Aria, his own body a barrier against the violence. But he wasn't just defending, he was communicating. You could see it in the way he moved, the sounds he made, growls and postures that seemed to carry meaning. The pack wolves slowed, confused, as if they'd expected him to either join them or flee, but not this, not defiance mixed with something that looked almost like negotiation. The largest of the pack wolves, a gray beast with battle scars crossing its muzzle, stepped forward. It snarled something that sounded like a challenge. Liam snarled back, but there was no aggression in it. Instead, he turned deliberately and moved to stand directly in front of Aria, his massive form blocking her completely from view. The message was clear: "You'll have to go through me." The gray wolf's eyes narrowed. It circled, looking for an opening, but Liam turned with it, always keeping Aria protected. The other pack wolves watched, waiting for their leader's signal. Then Aria did something that made everyone in the room, human and werewolf alike, freeze. She stepped out from behind Liam. "No!" Liam's voice was more growl than word, but the meaning was unmistakable. Aria ignored him. She walked forward until she stood beside the black wolf, her hand resting on his shoulder, feeling the corded muscle beneath the fur. "She's right here," Aria called to the gray wolf, her voice steady despite her terror. "His soul mark, that's what you came for, isn't it? To see whether the rumors were true, to test whether he'd protect me or give in to pack law." The gray wolf's ears pricked forward, clearly understanding her words. "Well, you have your answer," Aria continued. "He won't give in. He won't abandon me. Not for you, not for any pack. And if that makes him your enemy, then I guess that makes me your enemy too." The cabin fell silent except for the sound of heavy breathing and the creaking of wood. The gray wolf stared at Aria for a long moment, then did something unexpected. It sat back on its haunches and made a sound that was almost like laughter. The tension broke. The other pack wolves relaxed their aggressive postures, and the gray wolf began to transform, bones cracking and shifting until a man stood where the beast had been, a tall, weathered man with gray streaking his hair and scars crossing his bare chest. "Well," he said in a rough voice, "that's the first time a human's ever volunteered themselves as bait to protect a werewolf." "She's not bait," Liam growled, his wolf form still in place. "She's your soul mark. Yes, we know. The man smiled, though it wasn't entirely friendly. "That's why we came. There are rules, young wolf, laws that govern our kind. When a werewolf discovers their soul mark, they have a choice: join a pack for protection or declare themselves independent and face the consequences alone." "I choose independence," Liam said immediately. "Even knowing that makes you a target, that other packs will see you as a resource to capture or a threat to eliminate?" The gray wolf's human form crossed his arms. "Even knowing your soul mark will be in constant danger?" Liam was transforming back now, returning to human form, though he kept himself positioned protectively in front of Aria. "I won't put anyone else in charge of her safety. I won't owe allegiance to a pack that might use her as leverage against me. I'll face whatever consequences come." The man studied him for a long moment. "Your father said the same thing once, before the isolation drove him to desperation, before he made the foolish decision to try to end the curse by confronting the original wolf alone." His expression softened slightly. "We didn't attack him, boy. We tried to stop him from his suicide mission, but he wouldn't listen." Liam's breath caught. You were there? That night?" "We tracked him to the forest, tried to warn him the original werewolf was too old, too powerful to face alone, but he was convinced he could save you from the curse." The man shook his head sadly. "Instead, he got you infected and himself killed, and we've been watching you ever since, waiting to see what kind of wolf you'd become." "And?" Liam asked, his voice tight. The gray wolf's human form crossed his arms. "This hunter's been after us for months. We could kill them now, eliminate the threat." "Don't," Liam said sharply. "They were just doing what they thought was right, protecting people from monsters." The man's smile was bitter. "We are monsters, boy. Some of us more than others. But monsters can choose who they hurt and who they protect. That's what separates the wolves who join packs from the wolves who go rogue." He turned to the scarred hunter. "Your quarry isn't here. The werewolf you've been tracking, the one killing livestock and terrorizing travelers, is the same one that infected this boy. It's old, rabid, and completely feral. We've been hunting it too." The scarred hunter grimaced, clutching his wounded shoulder. "Then we have a common enemy." "It would seem so." The man turned back to Liam. "Here's my offer, young wolf. You want independence? You can have it. But take this." He held out his hand, and one of the other pack wolves, still in beast form, dropped something into it. A silver pendant on a leather cord, carved with symbols Aria didn't recognize. "This marks you as pack adjacent, not a member, but under our protection. It means other werewolves will know you've been recognized, that you're not rogue. It won't stop everyone, but it'll stop some." Liam hesitated. "What's the price?" "When we hunt the original wolf, the rabid one, you help us. You have the strongest claim for vengeance, and we could use another fighter." The man's expression was serious. "It won't be easy, it won't be safe, but it's the only way this ends." Aria felt Liam tense beside her. She squeezed his hand. "We'll do it," she said, "together." The man's eyebrows rose. "You'd put yourself in that kind of danger for him?" "No," Aria said softly, looking up at Liam. "I'd face that kind of danger with him. There's a difference." The man laughed, a genuine sound this time. "Your soul mark has teeth, young wolf. That's good. You'll need her strength in the days ahead." He tossed the pendant to Liam, who caught it reflexively. "The hunt begins in 3 days, the new moon. We'll send word where to meet." With that, the man transformed back into his wolf form. The pack turned as one and flowed out through the shattered window, disappearing into the forest as silently as they'd come. The cabin fell quiet except for the hunters tending to their wounds and Liam staring at the pendant in his hand like it might bite him. "Well," the scarred hunter said eventually, "that was unexpected." Aria started laughing, a slightly hysterical edge to it. "That's one word for it." Liam pulled her into his arms, burying her face in her hair. She could feel him trembling, the adrenaline and fear and relief all catching up at once. "I thought I was going to lose you," he whispered, "when those wolves came through the window, when you stepped out in front of me." "I know," Aria said, holding him tight. "I know, but we're okay. We're both okay." For now, Liam pulled back just enough to look at her, his eyes serious. "Aria, this isn't over. The hunt in 3 days, the rabid wolf, other packs that might not be as understanding." "I know," she repeated. "But Liam, I meant what I said. I'm not going anywhere. Whatever comes next, we face it together." He searched her face, looking for doubt, for fear, for any sign she'd regret this choice. But Aria met his gaze steadily, certain in a way she'd never been certain of anything before. "I love you," Liam said, the words raw and honest. "I have loved you since we were kids, and I will love you for whatever time we have left. But you need to know what you're signing up for. A life with me means danger, means always looking over your shoulder, means—" Aria kissed him, cutting off the words. When she pulled back, she was smiling. "It also means I get to be with my best friend, the person I've loved my whole life, even when I didn't have a name for it yet. So yes, Liam, whatever danger comes, whatever challenges we face, yes, to all of it." The hunters were politely looking away, giving them privacy despite the cramped space. Outside, the moon was beginning to set, its power waning as dawn approached. And in that cabin at the edge of Ashwood Forest, with a shattered window and silver weapons scattered across the floor, Liam and Aria held each other and understood that their story, the real story, was just beginning. The curse hadn't made Liam a monster. It had just revealed the strength he'd always had, the love that had always been there, waiting for someone brave enough to meet him in the darkness and call him home. The wolf would fall tonight. Liam was certain of it, because he wasn't fighting alone anymore. He never would be again. Thank you for listening to Bound by the Crimson Moon. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and check out our other supernatural romance audiobooks in the playlist. Until next time, may your own love be strong enough to tame any beast.